It's my pleasure now to invite Richard Scholefield from, he's the Whangara Farms manager. Richard's been on board from the very beginning, and I think he's going to tell that as part of his story. So without further ado, thank you.
Does this roll straight on?
Yeah, just hit the...
Okay, cool. Yeah, good morning, and thanks for the opportunity to come and talk to you guys. I'm out of my comfort zone up here, so I won't be as polished as Jason and some of the earlier speakers, but I'll try my best. No, wait. Cool. So I just thought I'd just initially just give a bit of background as to where we are, Whangara Farms, a little bit of background onto the our operation, both our sheep and our beef operation, and then sort of tell a bit of a story as where we've come in the last 8 years in our cattle operation, and then also talk a little bit about obviously what we're really here for, which is the BLG project. So we're based at Whangara, which is, as you can see on the map there, on the east coast, and we're about 30 k's north of Gisborne, and we're sort of basically right on the coast. First to see the sun, so Gisborne's famous for being first to see the sun. Our vision is to be ongoing, is to be an outstanding agribusiness providing ongoing sustainable returns. So we're all about sustainability. I'll get it right eventually. So 7,100 hectares, just under 5,800 effective hectares. We're a partnership of two Marion corporations with 2,000 shareholders, and we run about 65,000 stock units. We're in an area which is very summer dry, winter wet. Although that is sort of changing, and this year's been quite tough, been really dry through autumn as well. The board is quite interesting. The board is made up of, there's a Whangara Farms board that governs the farms. Underneath that board there's two committees, which were the two incorporations. Out of those two committees, they appoint three members to sit on the board, and then they appoint two independents. And that's quite a unique thing for Marydom, because they've actually allowed independents to come in and help govern their business. So it's a reasonably progressive business. I have 15 staff, and we have a big focus with our staff on training and development. With our sheep, 60% of our stock units are sheep, so we are predominantly a sheep-based business. 30,000 Romney Cootworth ewes, 20,000 of those go to a maternal land called Romney Ram, and 10,000 to terminal. We've increased the performance quite a bit since 06, 07. We've gone from 100% lambing to last year hitting 137 survival to sale. We've brought in new hogget mating, so we've been doing that for the last 3 or 4 years, and we're still working at that. We mate 5,000 new hoggets annually and sort of achieve around that sort of early 90s, and sell about 35,000 lambs. I've just put there 25% of those we sell store in a normal year. But it's getting to the stage where there's no such thing as a normal sort of season. So that can range anywhere from 25% up to about, this year we'll sit about 35 to 40% of our lambs that will go store this year. So on the cattle side, we have 6,000 cattle, which made up about 1,600 Angus breeding cows. 800 of those cows we mate to Angus bulls for our maternal side, and the other 800 are mated to Simmental bulls. We finish all the progeny at 18 months, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, how we've changed over the years, and we also mate 300 R1 heifers. I just thought I might do a comparison as to what it was in 07, and then sort of jump forward to what we are today. So in 07 there were still 1,600 cows. There were only 600 Angus cows, and there was 1,000 crossbred cows. When I turned up, we had sire bulls that represented 7 breeds. So there was all sorts of stuff going on the different blocks, and so pretty much every breed you could think of, we pretty much had it there. There was no heifer mating. We were finishing steers at 3.5 year old. Our heifer replacement criteria was really just based on size and what they look like and phenotype, and bull selection was pretty much on just phenotype. Performance was average, 85% in the cows, and 80% calving in the R3 heifers. Even though those heifers were getting mated at about 500, 550 kilos, there was quite an issue there. And returning about $48 a stock unit for the cattle stock units. If we move forward to 2014 and where we are now, So we still have 1,600 cows. We're moving to basically, we have 1,400 Angus cows now and only 200 crossbred cows. So we're basically moving out one more year, one more season, and we'll be 100% Angus cows. We run those cows in two herds, an A herd and a B herd. So the A herd go to the maternal bulls, the B herd go to the terminal bulls, which are the Simmies. Our sire bulls are represented just by the two breeds, so the Angus and the Simmental. We obviously, as I said before, we brought in R1 heifer mating, and so we mate 300 a year, and we're sort of PDing those in the early 90%. So we're doing a reasonable job there. We also brought an 18-month finishing policy for all our cattle. We've increased our calving percentage, and I think what's really, at the end of the day, we've increased our return on our per cattle stock unit up to $84. So if you have a look at that in a graph form and also in a financial form, the $36 per cattle stock unit increase across 24,000 cattle stock units equates to just under $900,000 of extra return to the cattle business. And it's quite amazing when you actually sit down and actually work that out as to what that increase is. Some of the cattle focus areas for us, for Whangara Farms, obviously genetics, and I mean those genetics are Angus and Simmental. We're a big focus on sire selection, but also over the last 4 years, our replacement heifer selection has become a big factor. So in the past it was just on size and phenotype, but now we're putting a lot more emphasis on our heifer replacements, and we're doing a lot of measuring, which I'll talk a little bit about. I mean, EBVs are important, but so is our management, so our feeding and our forages, our animal health and those sorts of things. We support the Scholefield Farms Beef EQ program. I think it's great to have a grading system, and I'll make a couple of comments later about that as well. And also, I guess the big focus and why I'm here today is the evaluation project, or the progeny test. Just before I get on to that, I just thought it'd be interesting just to talk a little bit about how we've sort of changed when it comes to our selection. So with our heifer replacement selection in 2007, it used to be basically the two boxes on the left there, the phenotype, and it had to be Angus. So they were the two criteria. I guess now there's another couple of criteria. So they have to wean a live calf as an R1 heifer, but also we back fat scan all our replacement heifers for IMF and EMA, and that then becomes a selection criteria for them as well. So not only are we putting a lot of emphasis on our sire bulls, but we're putting a lot of emphasis on our replacement heifers back into our herd. On the sire bull, same thing. The two on the left, phenotype, structure and constitution, and Angus and Simmental were mainly in 2007 the only criteria that we selected bulls on. And I guess over time we've become more focused on EBVs, and so they are now become a really big part. But also our breeders, and it's great to see three of the breeders here. Brian Bendel from Seven Hills, Tim Britton, Storth Oaks, and also John North from Kira, and also Focus for the Simmies. So I mean, it's a big focus. I think it's really important that you're selecting a breeder that's actually going down the same path that you are, because whether you like it or not, if you buy bulls off that breeder, that's the path you're taking with your genetics. I just flicked that slide in there. I stole that off Silver Fern. But I just wanted some of the criteria to reach that reserve grade, or that beef EQ, are directly correlated to some of the things, the EBVs that we're actually selecting for, which is the marbling and the rib fat and things like that. So, okay, so the beef progeny test basically started from a meeting with Zoetis at a bull sale, and some of the questions I've got there, I was asking them, and one of them was, why can't we have access to some of the USA genomic tools? So some of the things that were being presented this morning. And also, I guess I was asking the question, what's sort of being done in the space, in the genetic space in New Zealand? A lot of work's been done with sheep, but I feel there hasn't really been anything done with cattle. I was quite keen to sort of try and demonstrate to my shareholders that EBVs are actually working within our cattle system. We want to try and get more cattle grading through beef EQ. So I was asking the question, can we do that by selecting for high marbling genetics? And the other question I've had for a little while is AI an option for the commercial farmer? So there are a whole lot of questions I've had floating around, and then we ended up having a meeting at Whangara with about 16 to 17 people, and representing beef and lamb genetics, Zoetis, Abacus, Ag Research, Angus breeders, and it was quite an interesting start to the project. So the project for Whangara Farms, 386 mixed stage cows and R3 heifers have embarked on a 2-year AI program. So we've AI'd them, and we've also PD'd them, and I'll touch on that now later. All those cows and all the sire-bulls used were DNA sampled, and we've used a wide range, as Jason said, a wide range of bulls from New Zealand, Australia, and the US. And I think at wide range, I mean from basically the traditional right through to the latest and greatest, marbling genetics that we could get. We've also followed those up with our sires, so we've been selecting quite heavily over the last 4 or 5 years, and so they've been followed up with those sires. And as Jason's already said, the benchmarking, all that data as well. I think the other interesting thing that we've been doing is condition scoring and weighing the cows, which is a little bit strange because we haven't done much of that, but we're sort of taking that on board as well and looking at rolling that out across as a management practice, because I think there's a lot more to it. And then obviously we're going to follow that progeny right through to slaughter and back into the herd. So the results so far. But it was a bit scary for a commercial farmer to embark on something like this, and we were a little bit worried about how it would go. Bringing our cows in, we decided to go with a 3 yarding protocol because we thought that just be that one less yarding to bring all the cows and calves through the yards. The reality was it actually went really well, and it was a little bit of a pain for the guys, but we're actually really impressed with how easy it was to do. So. We achieved 45% in calf, which we're a little bit disappointed with. We had hoped to get into the 50s, but I think given that it was the first time doing it, maybe there's certain things there that we can fine tune and maybe do a little bit better next time. The interesting thing was the cows actually put on half a condition score over that mating period, so I think we actually changed our practices a little bit and actually really fed those cows really well through that whole process. And I guess they're due to start calving in the first week in September. So, it's pretty much a watch the space, and we'll see how that goes. We sort of been asked the question, so what did we want to get out of this beef progeny test? And I guess I've talked a little bit about them, but really for me it's to demonstrate the commercial value of EBVs, both to our shareholders and also to our region, really. Some of the genomic tools, I mean, I think it's great. I think I put a lot of pressure, or have been putting a lot of pressure on Charla and Zoetis last night, in fact, about, we need to get moving along, and can we get into some of this, and wouldn't it be great to take a DNA snip of a heifer calf and then decide select your heifer replacements there and then. That's it, done. They're genetically the best that you can have, and then focus on those instead of focusing on a whole, as we do it currently. We focus on a wide pool and then, cull them back down to get our selection. So it'd be great just to go bang, get that information and then select from there. We obviously want more cattle to grade through BFEQ. Currently we're sitting at just under the average, the New Zealand average for it. So we want to try and look through this project and through our EBVs to try and do that better. I guess AI, I think it's a real option for us, and it's something that we're looking at continuing with once the project finished. But also sex semen is something that's a big option for us. I mean, we're mating 1,600 cows. We end up with 800 heifers that we don't really want. We only really want 300 heifers. So is there an option there that we could have 75% of our calves as males and 25% as heifers, which will actually fit better into our finishing systems? I guess better cow management. So through this project, can we actually fine-tune some of our cow management, and does that equate to more dollars at the end of the day? And I guess, research and development, we're big on research and development. Given our size, we actually have a budget for research and development, and I think it's really important to be doing that within your own business. I guess I was just thought I'd put a slide in here of how I sort of see, and I'm given the red card. No, you're right. I just sort of put down some thoughts for how I sort of see maybe the potential future for the New Zealand beef industry, and to me it's maybe, wouldn't it be great to have a national grading system? We're all talking about BFEQ, and I know that Angus Pura thing are coming up with their own grading system and whilst that's great, it would just be great to be like the US or Australia and just have a national grading system. That's it. It doesn't matter where you kill your beast, you're going to get graded and you're going to be getting those premiums regardless. And I think that's really where we need to be heading. And maybe some of the focus needs to be on something more like that than focusing on trying to bring all the meat companies together, just as a thought. I think there's new forages out there, fighter beet. I know fighter beet's big in the South Island, but it's only just sort of starting to come up in our region. I think there's huge potential there. I think there's some great marketing opportunities. As I've said, I think AI and sex semen being used, commercially and being widespread. I mean, the dairy industry have been doing it for years, so I think we as an industry need to probably catch up. And the genomic tools and then really technology. Where will we be in another 5 to 10 years? It's. So I guess just to finish up, I think the opportunities now. It is sad. I believe that in the last 2 years there's been great prices for beef and everything's stable, and now there seems to be a big interest in trying to actually add value to the beef industry. And I think maybe we should have been already doing it. I do believe that we as an industry, beef industry, needs to catch up. We need to catch up with the US and Australia, and especially around this genetics space. I think the animal management. I know I'll be as bad as anyone. Generally push our cows and feed, we don't feed them right, and I think there's an opportunity there for us to feed our cows a little bit better and actually add a lot more value to our business. There's a saying used to be 90% feeding and 10% breeding. When I was growing up, when I started off shepherding, and I think now for us in our business anyway, it's becoming almost 50-50. It's as important to have the genetics there as what it is to feed them, and I think that's sort of where we're heading. And I guess, as a business, Whangara Farms, we're focused on utilising technology and science as much as we can, and we're always learning. And so I'll just finish on this. This is a quote that I like to use. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. And I think that almost sums it up. I say to a lot of people that if you're happy doing what you're doing, then no one should be able to say, well, go and try and do something different, because it's what you're happy, it's what your farm is, and what you're happy at doing. But if you're not happy getting what you've always got, then you've got to change something. So I think this is sort of sums it up. Just before I go, I've got to take off, so I've got to apologise. I've got to catch a plane and shoot back to Gisborne. But I just want to thank Beef and Lamb Genetics and Beef and Lamb for the opportunity to be involved in this, and thank you guys for coming to talk. Just like to congratulate everyone last night at the Stake of Origin. It was great. It's the first one I've actually been to, and it's great, and it's awesome to actually celebrate success like that in our industry. And just good luck to everyone selling and buying a bull today. They're a good lineup of bulls from what I've seen, and good luck with that. So cheers.